Welcome back. Let's continue on now with part 2 of the presentation about flying GRT's HXr. On this segment, we'll talk about what we do after we reach the cruise altitude, leveling off, reading the scoreboard of the autopilot. Very important. Make sure your aircraft is doing what you think it's doing. We'll talk about some of the engine pages, how you lean the engine. There's a lot of information on the map pages, and we'll touch briefly again on the flight plan pages. Here we are. We've leveled off at 10,000 feet here on the way to the climb up. Just to show you a picture of the panel, we've got a whole bunch of information available. This is one of the times where you just have to make yourself look out the aircraft and enjoy what's going on around you. Do the see and avoid. Most important, we have so many pretty pictures in our cockpit nowadays. There's a real tendency to want to just look inside and play with all the magic. Just make sure you use this as an aid for what it is. See and avoid, very, very important. And let's continue on with the safe flight here. After 30 minutes, we get an interval alarm popped up. And this is one of the red boxes. It'll pop up the acknowledge button down in the lower left. You want to acknowledge. I use this. I have mine set for 30-minute intervals. I use this for fuel balancing, just ops checks if I'm flying with other people, just a general situational awareness. It helps me keep my eye on what's going on. You'll notice also we have some traffic around us over on the right side. There is a couple new features I'll talk about in a little bit, but they have added in numbers now to ADS-B participating traffic. So not only will you get the direction of flight, the altitude plus or minus, and whether they are climbing or descending, you will, for participating aircraft in the system now, you'll also get the N numbers. ADS-B also gives us weather all around us, destinations. The TFRs will now be displayed on the map as well. For the messages down at the bottom left, you'll notice that we've got several soft keys. I can, if I choose, I can disable the interval alarm for the rest of the flight, next 15 minutes, and have it or inhibit all for 1 minute. So you can go ahead and select those, and that will be the, for that particular message, that will be, you can acknowledge it or tell it not to come back, or just for specific time periods. Let's talk just a little bit about the engine pages now, using the various engine pages, using the various functions on those engine pages. I run lean at peak. I know that's another technique. Some people agree, some people disagree. That the lean function is available on the engine pages, and we have the engine map page we'll look at and discuss a little bit also. There's the old more button again. We want to get into the engine pages, look at the lean technique, etc. Punch. And there's our more menus across the bottom. It's a better picture. You can see everything that brings up, but we still want to look at the engine, so more and that brings us up. We use the set fuel on the ground. Here we can turn the lean on, turn the lean off, and like I alluded to earlier, there will be a lean reset button on the newest software that's available to you now. I think I have a picture of that later on we'll show. You'll notice right now, though, that there's no lean, and that's annotated by under the EGT bar graph. Just in the center of the lower screen, you'll see it's just got the EGT with the EGT numbers. So let's go ahead and punch lean on. And you'll notice now there's a little white L at the bottom. That shows that we are in the lean function. Now, we haven't changed anything, so we still have the normal EGT numbers. As we start adjusting our mixture and changing the fuel flow, those numbers will go up or down commensurate with the direction of the temperature rise or. And once we get into the lean function, once we have started to decreasing, you'll notice the number 4 cylinder here, minus 54. That was the first cylinder to reach lean. It's annotated by the green, by the white box. That's the first one. The green, the number 2 cylinder, was the last one to go lean, so that's the green box. Numbers 1 and 3 are 42 and 35 degrees below the peak EGT that they reached. Here we are now on the engine map page. You have all the engine instruments. You still have the selectable 8 boxes that are on all of the pages. You have the dial indicators that you can pre-selectable in the set menu, as well as the top 6, bottom 6 bar graphs, and then you've got all the boxes in the bottom with the white numbers. CHT, GT bar graph down in the lower portion of the screen, and at the very bottom I have a 1-minute trend. You can set the time there, and you can watch an EGT trend and see whether it's trending up or down. You can see anomalies as they happen real time right there. On the right side of the page now is the large map. This is whatever map is displayed at any other map page. It pops up here. This is once again where I told you that the range buttons, the 2 right lower white knobs on the right side of the screen, change the range. So whatever map, you can have IFR, VFR, terrain, shaded, radar, whatever map you're selecting will be displayed here on the engine map page. Let's talk now a little bit about the map pages. Now there is a lot of information that's available to you here on the various map pages. It is so helpful for your situational awareness along the route and at your destination. It gives you a lot of information en route, divert fields. There's many different ways to look at different weather portions, weather areas along your route of flight. There's just so much information here that the map pages are just really worth their weight. I'm not going to read all this to you. All these, you can just take the time here and pause this and look at everything. But basically what I'm talking about here are the 6 different functions on the map options. Soft key, radar, shade, terrain, charts, METARs, and none. And you can read what these all do, and we'll talk about them individually here for the next 5 or 6 slides. To get to the map options, punch obviously the map option key. Now, surprisingly enough, when you are in the map page itself, you have to hit the map button and bring up the screen options and then hit map options. But anyway, find the map options key and that will bring up this menu over on the left. Now here are the 6 choices we have under the show. Radar, shade, terrain, chart, METARs, or none. The view is arc, center, or north. Slew is what it says it does. Slew will turn you into a full page map by using soft keys to go left, right, up, or down. And then if you are in the chart box under the show key, and you have the maps and charts loaded, then you can display the sectional, the low, or the high. And then farther on over to the right are the fixes soft key, and we'll talk about that later. That displays the IFR fixes on the various maps. Here is a picture of the radar screen. Now you'll notice there is one heck of a lot of information here. Let's just start at the top left and work our way across and down. The engine indications will always be displayed on the top up here. One little change that they have made in their software, you can now make the text boxes of white text. It's just a little bit easier to read than the gray. So that is in the set menu. If yours is still displaying a gray and you have the latest software, just a little bit easier to read. Go into your set menu and you'll see the engine boxes where you can set the text as gray or white. Destination, distance, time, course, and everything across the top. Over in the top right are the comm boxes, and that will vary depending on your setup, whether you have got internal or remote transponders, radios, different radios that will talk with it. The range is indicated over on the top left. Now we're at the 300 nautical mile range. ADS-B, if you have the ADS input, that will show the number of ADS towers that you're receiving information from. Just below that, the radar is 5 minutes old. Now we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but just don't let that lead you down the primrose path. That's the last time we got an ADS radar update. It has absolutely nothing to do with the time of the weather that is being displayed on your screen. Airspeed tape, altimeter tape will be displayed. You'll notice on the top right side there's a bunch of hash marks. The GRT display will display the actual weather picture to about 250 nautical miles from your present position. The ADS-B information, however, is available all over the place. If you want to view ADS weather information, you can slew the map out to extremely long distance. Use the details knob down the bottom right and select the airport, and there will still be the text of the ADS-B weather. It just does not display it more than about 250 nautical miles from your current position. We've got the insets turned on here. You'll notice the ADI is the bottom left inset. On the bottom right, I've got the EGT-CHT and the map pages. You'll notice there's a lot of traffic displayed. All the airspace information comes up. Purple, the red are the restricted areas. The airport traffic areas are displayed, and you'll notice also right in front of us now there's a box that is yellow. That means that we're going to enter an active airspace there, and it's just alerting us to pay attention to what's up in front of us. Also, the weather. Let's talk about this. Since this is the radar page, actually I've taken you through just giving you an overview of the map page. But the weather page, recall that you cannot use this ADS-B when you are IMC for tactical flying. And what I mean by that is the short term. It is extremely useful for strategic planning long ways down the road. Very, very dangerous to get in IMC and think you can dodge your way around a cumulus vertical weather event. It's just not real time enough. The stuff we're looking at can be as much as 20 and 30 minutes old. You get into a fast-moving frontal system, and some of that bright purple stuff can be a long ways from where you think it is in 20 or 30 minutes from now. So keep that in the back of your mind. Just don't use this for tactical planning, strategic planning. ADS-B weather is really, really a valuable tool. Okay, here we are in the shade mode now. This just draws in the synthetic vision map with the elevations annotated and everything. Everything else is the same, just the background map. This is the terrain view now. I am obviously on the ground here. Everything around me is red. You'll notice a little bit, the very top right is yellow. That terrain is actually lower than where I'm located in Dahlonega, Georgia. And then the box at the above, I talk about the terrain is within 500. It is red, yellow 500 to 1,000, green 1,000. Now, if you have the background color turned off or black in the set menu, there will be no background color on the map. If you have the shade on, then you'll see just the green as the background color when you are in the terrain mode, out of harm's way, though up above everything on the terrain. Okay, let's talk about the chart view now a little bit. So once you are in the map options, you can cursor down to where we highlight chart, and that and only then will the chart key under the fourth button where it says sectional high or low. That's the only time that does anything is when you are in the chart view, and that will be either the sectional chart, which is displayed here, or here's a blown up view of it in the full map page. This is the sectional. Extremely good resolution now with the new scanned charts out to about 100 miles, even on the 10-inch screen now, out past 100 miles, it's really hard to read, but close in up to 100 miles is extremely readable for moving around and checking the section. Here is a view of the IFR low, the Victor Airways now. Once again, you'll notice in yellow that the airspace that we're having a conflict is annotated in yellow, and that's true on all the. Here is a picture of the jet routes, the high altitude chart. So if you have all those loaded and on your stick that was in at power up or boot time, then you will be able to display the sectionals, the high and the low. METARs, just what it tells you, it will take you to the shaded background. Now, once again, you'll notice that my background is green. I've got the green in the set menu. If you have that turned off, it'll be black. But you'll notice the color-coded METARs that are annotated from the ADS-B weather if you've got that in. Here's just a better view of the METAR page. You'll notice that it's color-coded. The green, the blue, and the red. And the salmon-colored are ones that do not have weather given out for the ADS-B on the current. If the U is for unlimited ceiling, the weather the airport identifier KAND under the knob, when we have at least 10 miles of visibility, and the wind barb you can see under the D is out of the southeast at Anderson. Just down below, off to the right of my airplane, you'll see another one with the wind barb out of the south. Okay, if we want to move the map around, to have a full screen view. That's an easy way to get to full screen is maps options, and you push that, it once again brings you up to the full screen map, and you'll notice the left, right, up, and down arrows on the bottom. That moves the map in the direction of the arrow. So you can move the map. Well, I've got my thumb on the right one. It will actually move the map to the left, which shows the view to the right. It's kind of confusing until you play with it a little bit, and then it makes perfect sense. Just another station in the yellow ring up at the top to show you it has got a 3,800-foot ceiling in Knoxville and 10 miles of visibility. Now, if we want to look at details about the airport, I have punched the right knob, and it slewed itself automatically to Front Royal, which is my destination up here. But anyway, it'll notice in the square box down at the bottom is KFRR. It's 052 degrees, 331 miles from where I am. And if we want to view the details, the box over the right knob is highlighted for, we'll go to select and details, and that brings us to the details page. And we'll talk about this. There's a lot of information on all these. It tells you the airport, Front Royal elevation. Warren County is actually the name of it. It's an hour and 51 minutes from us. The next box down tells you all the active runways, how their length, hard surfaces, lighted or not. The next box down below that gives you the information from the airport facilities directory, whether or not there's fuel available, etc. If you have ADS-B weather, it will also display the weather at this point. And you'll see that I have got mine into the translated, the METARs, not in the raw data. It'll translate our display raw data. Down at the bottom, I can pull up the frequencies. I can go direct to, if I'm on an internal navigator GPS, I can pull up a list of the plates if they're loaded, or I can pull up the terminal forecast. On the right side of this screen are all the frequencies. I can select with the cursor, I can select select the frequency button at the bottom, and then I can select those. If your HXR will talk to some of your radios, you can auto transfer the frequencies. Another thing I can do on the map page, I can either have to select the details, or I can push the near soft key. So let's go ahead and push the near button. Another menu, nearest airports, nearest weather frequencies, nav aids, and METARs. Let's go ahead now. Here's the METAR button. This is color coded for the different weather. Green is VFR, blue is marginal VFR, red is IFR, and pink is low IFR. It gives you the airport. This will go out, I think, about 250 miles. You can rotate the right or the left knobs and cursor down. It gives you the bearing and the distance of the airports. If you're on a navigator of the internal GPS, you can also select one of them and hit the direct button, and that will change your destination and your internal flight plan to that destination. So it's good if you're in a weather fix and you need the nearest VFR airport. We could go down to KRYV, hit direct, and it would take us there, and we know that it's at least a marginal VFR there. Okay, this is the nearest nav aids button. Same thing. You can rotate with the knobs down out to a long distance. It gives you the bearing and the range, what type of navigation thing it is. There's lots and lots of non-directional beacons still in this whole country. The VR DME is what we're interested in here, the Vortex. It gives you the frequency. Once again, you can, if your radio will communicate with the HXR, you can send these comm frequencies direct to your VOR or your ILS. The nearest weather. This is kind of a misnomer. This is actually the nearest weather frequency and the type that it is, AWOS, ASOS, ATIS. Once again, also you can select these, or you can just hit the select details and it will bring up the details box that we discussed earlier. And here it is. We highlighted Pulaski. This is just a blow up of what you see with the nearest airports. It's just about like the METARs and everything. This is just as the airport page. It gives you the range bearing, it gives you the frequency if you want to go to it, the hard surface runway, and whether or not they have lights. So the nearest airports is get into a pickle. You can punch direct to it on your internal GPS if you need to get there in a hurry. That's a good emergency back up to get you to the closest airport that's suitable. It tells you whether or not it's hard surface, soft surface, the length of the runway, the lights, etc. Great emergency thing to get you out of a pickle. As I talked earlier now, anytime you have a map displayed on any page, the range buttons work in and out. This is just another picture of a radar page with the very, very long range. We're at 500 miles here. You can see the hash marks is where there is no information. About 250 miles from the airport. This shows you all the different weather we've just come through. It's got the flight plan annotated. And you can see a little bit of traffic on this page there. Just another one of the map pages indicating radar, and it gives you the radar age as well as the number of stations we're talking to. There are many, many other indications on the map page. Airspace, we talked a little about fixes, obstruction, flight plans active in the future, and traffic is displayed. So let's look at just a few of those. Here in the right-hand box on the map page now, we talked earlier if the airspace is in yellow, that means we are going to enter the airspace. The airspace that I'm pointing to right now is, it doesn't show it, but it is from 10 to 19,000 feet. And you'll notice my altitude is 10,080 feet. Let's descend just a little bit and watch. Okay, now I'm down at 10,000 feet, and you'll notice that the airspace turned back to purple, so it's no factor. We're going to descend down below it, and any airspace that you are going to enter will be annotated as such, yellow or red, depending on the type of airspace. The Fixes button is another thing. It's really not that useful in the when you have the high and the low charts, because the fixes are annotated. When it really gets useful is, for instance, if you're flying around and you're in the radar page looking at weather, and the controller tells you to go to XYZ intersection, it'll be displayed on. You can display all of them, the high, the low, the terminal, or none. And here you'll see I am on the radar map. It's shown by, I've got the weather in the radar box over on the left side, and you'll notice that there's a bunch of fixes annotated now. For instance, if the guy tells me to fly direct to the Cove intersection, I see it's at my 11:30 and out about 10 miles out, so I can go direct Cove, and I know right where it is located. Several other things on the map page we can talk about. You can go into the set menu and tell how you want it to display obstacles, etc. I've got mine in chart view here, and you'll notice that there is one large tower just off to my right. It's showing red, and there are three smaller towers off to the left, yellow, and then you look up on the map view over on the right side, and out of the very distance from the top left of the map, you'll see the three towers there. The closer one is just to the right of my track, so that's the way the obstacles are displayed. And once I get close enough, we'll get an obstacle warning also, and it'll flash red with obstacle, and we'll have to acknowledge that or change the course or altitude of the aircraft. Here's the obstacle alert. I pointed right directly at this one. It is at 2,334 feet. I'm at 2,500 feet, so it's telling me, watch out, you're getting close to hitting something. There's the obstacle alert, and with the message key lights up down at the bottom left, which will tell me, yes, acknowledge it, and I, in fact, know that it's out there. The traffic on the screen is extremely useful. You'll notice that I have in the bottom right inset now, there is a person coming at me. He's 600 feet below me, and he is climbing. The traffic alert, I've got it set at 2 miles. It'll show me also that he's climbing at 600 feet. You'll notice that there's a ghost here. That's the system picks up the ADS-B traffic and the TIS traffic, and that sometimes we'll get a double indication. The yellow dot on the far right is the visual of the traffic that pops up on my HXR on the ADI portion. It shows you exactly, if I look out the window, if I look at that spot, that's where I ought to see this traffic climbing at me at 600 feet below me. Another one of the new features that is in the latest software now are the en route hits. this is displayed as the highway in the sky. And it is dependent on the altitude you're selected. I'm at 9,500 feet. I have 9,500 feet selected. I can move the boxes up and down with the altitude key. If you just dial in or punch a direct to, you'll get a new highway in the sky drawn, and the en route hits will be visible there.